Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. A fine libations Friday to you and yours. All right. Here we go. I'm Jeff. That is Tom. Matthew is directing the program. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you're going to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything. But if you do, go back and caught up at your leisure, as we'll post all 3 hours upon the conclusion of the show. Apple Podcasts has got it. They house it. They say, come on in. Listen here. Tell your friends about it. We think it's 5-star. On Twitter, it's at Jay Cameron Show, WTSM. Hello, YouTubers. All guests appear via the Phone Hero hotline. Phone Hero specializing in iPhone and iPad repair. 2 locations, 2915 Cary Forest Parkway and 833 West Gaines Street. Online at PhoneHeroTLH.com. Hello, Phone Hero.
Speaking of the phone line, today driving in, I was thinking about our guy Lee Sterling, and I wonder if he's doing well, because right now was usually the time he would be doing a season primer interview about what to expect.
And he would tell us about the many spring football practices he attended, but instead, he didn't get an opportunity to do that, right?
Was this the worst spring of your life, Lee?
Yeah.
I would like you to ask that question next time he comes on.
Yeah, you didn't get a chance, did you, buddy? That sucks. Coach Norvell really happy with the practice and how they're playing. He said that perhaps it was the best practice they've had in camp yet. And he raved about Warrick Dunn, and who doesn't? It's awesome to see that they welcomed in Warrick Dunn, who addressed the team and answered questions and asked players to ask questions of him. And so we all know what an inspiration Warrick is, but it's a nice marriage there to hear Coach Norvell talking about the intensity and the progress made, situational football, being able to work on a lot of different things and seeing the guys engaged and really providing the intensity and the effort, creating the competition necessary to grow. They're going to be scrimmaging, and you want to go into that scrimmage on a high note, and you want to work things out. And so that appears to be happening right now. It also appears to be a situation where, not just the continued buy-in that we talk about on a daily basis, but the growth as players and an understanding of scheme is beginning to happen because they're playing faster. So that's good. I'm anxious to see what we learn with this next scrimmage. Does appear that there's progress being made in that quarterback room. He addressed quarterback play. The only thing I'd say about that is, it's pretty obvious to me right now that they're working on James Blackman's psyche. They're trying to get his head right because it doesn't look like he's going to be chased down by anybody. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't see opportunities for the other quarterbacks to play this year. I think there'll be packages for some of those guys without question. But I think it's James's job to lose right now. That's the way it sounds to me, and they're trying to get his head right.
Yeah, for now. I think if you were to play the entire 11-game slate, and of course yesterday's news was that Jacksonville State will be playing them on October the 3rd, so you go Georgia Tech bye, and then you get into the meat of the schedule. I think it's still a fluid situation where they're going to be assessing during practice. This is such a unique year that if you had a quarterback change and you wanted to go youth movement by week 5 or week 6, you've got more latitude to do it this year than you do in other circumstances.
Without question, yeah.
And that's not me rooting against James. I hope that they develop him in a way that he has been failed by so many other coordinators and coaches in his time here at Florida State. He's got like Jason Campbell's resume about how many different coaches he's seen in short order, and yet he's in college, not in the pros. And that just sucks for the young man.
It's a blast from the past, man. That's little Jason Campbell reference, that poor bastard.
There's a different offense every year. They're all got their own lingos.
Yeah, Coach Norvell is really, really pleased, though, with what he's got going right now. I mean, it's pretty clear also that Jordan Travis is going to get some run here. I mean, he continues to laud him with some of the stuff that he's seeing there. He did basically, I'm paraphrasing for you today, that he said, look, a real good work done in camp. They have their second scrimmage coming up. He talked about the plan and what they're looking to get out of the guys. They pushed them really hard. And that they responded mentally and physically. And again, he talked about the work day that they had. And he did say this: we've got some situational work from third down and extra long to overtime situations, some special teams work. Very pleased with our guys' mindset. They've taken a great message from Warwick Dunn, and he went on to talk about what that was, and I have no doubt because Warwick Dunn is inspirational, and he's as inspirational as you find in terms of his life story. We already know it. We've well documented. I'll talk about it again later in the program, but I got to imagine the young men there who had a chance for the first time to meet him and talk to him and hear from him came away impressed. Again, I'm just hoping like hell come out of this scrimmage, knock on wood, healthy, and that we continue to hear about that growth.
The thing I underlined today in Coach Norvell's comments is no limit. That's the term he attached to Jordan Travis in terms of some of the stuff he's been doing in camp. And that praise raised my eyebrows because you heard nothing about Jordan Travis after scrimmage 1 last week. And so you wondered how much in the discussion is he for anything other than maybe a gimmick or a gadget? Or is it something down the line that he's going to have to play a different position? But then you hear about Jordan today specifically as Norvell was talking about all the other quarterbacks and giving you brief assessments or pointers, points of emphasis that they're working with every single one of the quarterbacks. And he says, no limit. And Jordan Travis, interesting. That's an endorsement.
The potential for him, he says, no limit. That you're right. That means he sees something in the way he throws the ball more than because everybody knows he can run. So he must believe he can develop that aspect of his game. I should quote directly since there were some things that came out that Mike Norvell addressed that perhaps we hadn't thought about. One of those things was on the schedule changing. And he noted, and I'm not talking about the game that was added, the school starting. It's going to be a shift in what you're allowed to do according to the NCAA rules. And he mentioned that it's a 20-hour work week, which means they are not able to then have their night meetings or whatever. That's not part of the camp anymore, where they get together at night. With the extra week, we're going to keep more of a camp thought. Good on good work. Here is next week to continue to build up that speed. Probably the 29th. It'll probably be our last separate practice. Then we'll start gearing in for Georgia Tech, getting ready for game prep. We need as much speed, as much work as we can get against the best that we have. That competition. There's going to be competition that leads not only to game 1, but throughout this season. We're definitely going to be a work in progress. A lot of aspects. That's not a bad thing. As you go through the season, you want to continue to get better with everything that you're doing every single week that you play. That's going to be a big focus for us as we continue to build towards September the 12th. Fun to talk aloud about game preparations. Just reading that quote, hearing from the head coach, talking about what they're engaged in now. Today is the 21st. So now 8 days from right now, it all ends with what they're doing, and what begins is preparation for the game against Georgia Tech. How cool is that?
Yeah, it feels more real. And
It's 8
honestly,
days.
if you get from today to next week and there isn't a spike on Florida State's campus, I think it becomes all the more real.
Yeah.
Because that would mean that the students have lived together for long enough that, all right, initial signs point to this thing's going to happen. This first game at least. And then you go game by game. Every time we get one, every time we get to, I don't know, a Tallahassee game day on a Saturday and it's still on schedule because we're kicking off the game, buddy, I'm going to embrace that as though they're their own bowl game, as though they are their own New Year's Six game. You have to.
I'm with you. I'm getting nervous when we talk about it. I almost feel like we're going to jinx it. By the way, fall camp updates on the Jeff Cameron Show brought to you by Bud Light. Text football 20 to 31996 for a chance to win a Bud Light. At-home viewing prize this football season is what's at stake. 25 winners are going to be chosen. Text football 20 to 31996. Got to be 21 years of age or older. That a message from our friends at local Anheuser-Busch wholesaler Tri-Eagle Sales. Got to drink responsibly. So what came out? Well, something we always like to engage in. Here's something that came out. ACC coaches talking anonymously. We've been waiting all week to get to it. It's a fun Libations Friday edition. We will get to it. Those coaches commenting on the other coaches and the other teams in this league. We'll go all in here, Tom, when we come back. It's fun. It's interesting to read the quotes surrounding Florida State.
I think it's the only thing that Athlon does that people read.
Probably so.
Yeah.
No chance Athlon's coming on board to sponsor any segments in the very near future.
Well,
That
more people
is
would read at Athlon if you told us to tell people about it.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Boy, the video featuring Tank Top as adorned by the drummer, 95 YNF. I remember being a kid thinking that is the coolest thing in the world. That's our radio station, and the whole country is getting to see it. Gone the way of the dodo, that station. ACC coaches talk anonymously about conference foes for 2020. What?
That's our music station. It's on MTV. That's just what a foreign thought.
Yeah. Oh, I know, right? A radio station, that you'd be invested in that's a non-talk station, right? I mean, obviously everybody's invested in ESPN Radio.
Of course.
But yeah, there was a station that was locally beloved and then featured with music videos.
There's
not conversations and shout-outs.
There's not 4 of these that are formulaic in every single market.
That's correct.
Right. One of a kind, baby.
All right, so you know the drill. Athlon every year talks to coaches anonymously about their conference foes and about their fellow coaches, and sometimes they say interesting things, sometimes they say nothing at all, but I like going through it team by team. It's usually pretty interesting because they know there's no pushback or blowback for their opinions since it is anonymous, and you'll get some real, honest answers about what a team is or is not from a talent standpoint, or what a coach is or is not, or perceived to be until proven otherwise. For example, it's pretty funny right off the bat with Boston College. Jeff Hafley has a lot of work to do here. Mediocrity was accepted in this program for a real long time. That's one coach talking about the uphill climb for Jeff there at BC, taking a shot at our guy Pastry. Amongst other coaches that came before. Yes, mediocrity will always be the norm at BC. It's BC. You got to know what you are. You're not in a football elite. Embrace your mediocrity and go to those bowl games and celebrate it. They went on to talk about what they're going to have to do, but nobody cares about BC. He does. Some of these coaches talk a little bit about how good A.J. Dillon was.
I saw one quote about Halsey, and it said...
yeah, what did I say? Hafley? I meant to say Halsey.
Or is it Halsey? Is it Hafley? I could be wrong.
I think it's Hafley.
Hafley, all right. So about Hafley, and the idea was, well, at Ohio State, he could just run players out there. That's not going to be the case here, so we'll see if he can scheme it up. Okay. Well, bringing it.
Yeah. Well, that's true when you're the DC at Ohio State
Yeah.
with the loaded roster.
Coach was like, he could do whatever he wanted, but and they were very minimalist there. That's not going to be the case at BC, so we'll see if he can scheme it up.
By the way, Georgia Tech, our first opponent. Jeff Collins has spent over a year managing the expectations in a very public way, which is divisive in the coaching community. On the one hand, they're totally deficient at a lot of key positions, which is what you would expect from a team coming off the triple option. They don't have ACC caliber players. Their offensive line is a mess, and they could be very vanilla on offense.
And they beat Miami.
They sure did. On the other hand, this was a successful program a few years ago. The defense has identifiable talent and some guys who would see time on other teams in the league. They picked their quarterback, James Graham, and rode him good or bad, which is a smart move. They turned the ball over constantly, and they couldn't run. If you can fix those two things, they'll up their win total. Well, that's a toughie, right? When they're talking about, hey, turned the ball over constantly, couldn't run, their offensive line's a mess. If they can fix a few of those things, they'll be all right. Once they get a little more consistent on offense, it allows them to get loose and fast on defense. Collins knows how to wreck you. You should see a jump this season in the front. They're going to play the run much better. They're going to rush the quarterback better. Yeah, they're in Atlanta, but Tech has never had a modern identity. So far, they haven't exploded in recruiting or anything like that either. They will likely end up a better team with the same exact record.
Okay.
That's what coaches are saying about Georgia Tech.
One detailed scouting report there.
Yeah, listen. They hired the right coach, but it is a long, uphill, arduous task to get Georgia Tech to be anything above being butt-ass average at best. We all know that state clamors for greatness only from the University of Georgia, not from Georgia Tech. And if you have a kid that can really play, he goes to Georgia and not Georgia Tech. There aren't, there's only so much you can do in that footprint. But I do think, obviously, they'll be much better defensively because they hired a defensive guy. And he is a good coach. You want Miami's or do you want us? What do you want to do here?
Well, I just mentioned how Georgia Tech beat Miami, so let's see what they
sure
say
did,
about
didn't
Miami.
They sure did beat
Yeah.
them. Okay. I really enjoy the first quote from the first coach asked about the University of Miami. It reads as follows, friend. They looked embarrassing at times last season. Losing to that Georgia Tech team, well, that is just inexcusable. All right.
I agree.
I concur. In fairness, they're yelling at their radio. We beat your ass, indeed.
Yeah, and you got our coach fired. Thanks. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Desperately say it. Probably one of the few times I ever have. Thank you, Miami. Quote, they're super talented on the defense because they're still Miami. I think Manny Diaz got caught trying to be too smart. Like with those athletes, why are you overthinking this? Just go play man coverage, buddy. That's awesome. That coach just called Manny Diaz a dumbass.
Come on, pal.
Hey, buddy, stop being a dumbass.
Let's be smarter, friend.
You're acting like a dumbass. Manny, dumbass.
We should isolate that and send it to Manny, the listener.
They looked so bad in the bowl game on offense. They gave up. They didn't care at all. You saw it all on the tape. That's a case of them not being as good as they think they are. That's annual, by the way. That's every year for the last 20. Next coach says this about Miami. The offensive line was embarrassing against Florida, and they got worse because they didn't scheme to help themselves at all. By the time they got to conference play, you kept thinking they'd change things up. They simply didn't. More dumbassery. Right there at Miami, all kinds of dumbass.
Can it get better?
Just dumbass everywhere. That was pretty much the end.
I was hoping there was more.
I wish I could just go on calling them dumbasses, which is what every coach that responded
Apparently,
to
that's
this-
what they do.
My goodness gracious, that's ruthless, Tom. I'll give you one more, and then we'll save Florida State. We'll take a break, and then we'll go to Florida State because that's actually who do you want? You want Virginia? You want Pitt? Let's do Pitt.
Pitt. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
All right, Pitt. You know what you're getting here. That's a great quote to describe Pitt, is it not? I think we should have just stopped right there. I think everybody knows. This is the team that looks basic on film. Then you get into a fight before the game, a fight during the game. They'll even try to fight you after the game. That's all Pat Narduzzi. He is that team. Okay? So they're boring and tough
Scrappy.
and antiquated.
That's what gave me hope last year before we traveled up to Charlottesville to play the Cavaliers was that was the opening game for the ACC, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was their ACC opener, network, all that things. And Pitt's secondary abused Virginia's wide receivers, and they told them about it, and it was uncomfortable. And I didn't expect to see that because Virginia was considered to be, the secondary class of the ACC.
Yeah, they pushed them around, they bullied them, and they talked about it time and again.
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was great. I when you see that kind of emasculation, it is funny when it's not your guys being humiliated. Quote, that personality is how they carry themselves. They're going to hold you, press man coverage. They'll get their share of personal fouls. They'll goad you into it. They'll do all of it. He's a great defensive mind, but he needs to learn that the team reflects the head coach. They ride too hot and cold. They swing too much because that's how he's acting on the sideline. Okay, a little shot there.
Some juicy stuff.
Little shot there. Offensive coordinator Mark Whipple is a really good schematics guy. They just didn't have what they needed last season. Schematically, they give you problems no one else in the conference does. Their upside is that front seven. They're going to disrupt you. They can get after it. They can confuse your protections. They can fight right through you. They really could be a 9 or 10 win team this season. The offensive line can get better. They can fix all those scoring problems they have. The pieces are there. The whole not scoring thing makes it difficult to win.
Seems that the blocking affects the lack of scoring.
Yeah, that's good stuff. They also went on to say they like their quarterback.
It's true. Pickett can play a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, that quote was, they need him to develop into something more because they thought he was a game manager last year.
That's probably the philosophy of the head coach
It's
talking.
Absolutely it is, especially, though, when you can't block it up. So what are you going to do? All right, we'll come back. We'll do Florida State with the comments made anonymously by coaches throughout the ACC about what the Noles are going to be, what they were. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I'm furious about it.
Well, there's already a really low number out there today.
Yes, there is a 59. This son of a gun is going to go 18 under. What are we doing? He's 11 under through 11. It gets weird now.
It's like T. Lang playing Rory at 11:30 at night on a Friday. I'm off to a good start. Here we go.
Yeah.
About 3 chip-ins and a couple 20-footers.
Oh, man. Should be noted, our friends at Games for Less on Appalachia Parkway, out near the Super Walmart. My man George, not George, but George.
It's a cool name, though.
Yeah, it is. Owns that store. He's a hell of a good guy. Likes good music. He's a decent guitarist. He also has been locally owned and operated there for over 20 years. Go get your latest PGA Tour game.
Yeah, I know. I need to.
On the Parkway. That's what your night. There it is.
It's not Ryan. It's Ryan. It's not George. It's George.
George. 1100 through. What do we do? This is insane. I just had to pull up the leaderboard just because, there's a lot of weird things going on in Boston here. I mean, there are guys out here having normal days. Like John Rahm is on the tournament 6 under. He shot a 69 yesterday, 66 or 67 today. That's a nice start. Yeah, good luck. You're getting smoked. You got jokers out here 15 under. That is really something. Like Daniel Berger yesterday was 6 under. He's tied for 35th. He's even par for the day right now.
Maybe that 2 under round from Tiger wasn't so impressive after all.
No, it's terrible. Bum. Fall camp updates on the Jeff Cameron Show brought to you by Lane's Medical Shop with locations in Colquitt and Blakely. Lane's Medical Shop offers all your medical supply needs and will even deliver to you with emergency service available. Lane's Medical Shop, 229-308-5811. That's 229-308-5811. Oh, buddy. So back to the coaches. Speaking to Athlon anonymously about the teams and the coaches that make up this incredible league of ours.
We did feel some conference pride for about 5 minutes there after the 2014 bowl season. Felt good.
I know it existed, yeah.
And then it was gone.
Here we go. Florida State. What do they say about Mike Norvell? What do they say about what we've been, what we could possibly be? Coach number 1, what say you? Quote, everyone is a little bit nervous about Mike Norvell coming into the league. It's a good sign. It's a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
This won't be an overnight fix, but it's a big name, Florida school, and they can get talent in there faster than most places. Next quote. All right, so that's complimentary of Mike Norvell. Apparently has a good reputation amongst coaches, at least here in the ACC, certainly.
You want other coaches dropping F-bombs when Florida State announces they have their next hire. That's good. It's a good thing.
Well, I had a rival, a reporter who's a graduate from a rival university who covers college football and has been in multiple leagues, and he emailed me and said, man, I was really hoping you guys wouldn't announce that hire. I was hoping it was anybody else because he was very high on Mike Norvell. And then we have a mutual friend who's a Michigan grad who was like, ooh, that's good. That's
been around
good.
that program for some coverage, and then I know a Memphis grad who said, damn it.
Yeah, good
but
hire.
we knew he was going to go. He was too good not to.
Yeah, so those are all positive things. Here you go. The next sounder is, quote, you knew during the Willie Taggart era that they weren't going to be consistent or coached.
Yeah, just let that linger.
That is something to say. My God.
Bend over.
That coach goes on to say they didn't play hard, especially those last few games he was there. Okay, that's pretty direct. Very, very direct. Not pretty direct. That is an ice pick between the eyes.
Bend over.
Whew. Right away, they can build on defense. The front seven is talented, and the secondary is good by other school standards, but maybe not theirs. Okay. I think we're going to be good on defense. I do. I think we're going to be good in the secondary, too. Quote, offensively, we think James Blackman can fit what Mike likes to do. It's a versatile offense that wants to be able to bend and change around what the personnel can do. Blackman just made so many bad decisions last year. That's the improvement you can expect immediately. That's interesting when you combine that with what we've heard Norvell say about James and what they're trying to get him to understand, which is an awful lot about sometimes the best play is to throw it 50 yards into the stands. It's okay. Live to fight another day.
It sounds like there's development and mental conditioning going on, and that is the primary focus right now.
Yeah. More coach talk here. Everyone knew that Jimbo Fisher took the last years off in recruiting.
Hammered right after the game.
My God. I mean, the quotes here are ruthless. You knew during the Willie Taggart era they weren't going to be consistent or coached. They don't play hard, especially those last few games that he was there. And then we skipped to Jimbo, the guy before him. Everyone knew that Jimbo took the last few years off in recruiting.
Hammered right after the game.
Goes on to say, but it's Florida State. You can only screw that place up so much and not be able to beat 2/3 of this conference.
That sounns about right, though.
Yeah.
That's how we all feel. It's like, if you just patchwork something together, I mean, Jesus.
This is when I get mad at our fan base who moan and groan when the schedule comes out. They're like, oh, look at that. We got to play Virginia, North Carolina. And I'm like, Jesus, guys. Do you hear yourselves? Those are all a bunch of slappies. The downside could come in attrition. Taggart got a reputation for bringing in attitude guys, so now you're going to see some of those guys pushed out of the program. Okay. Really not a lot of flattering things to say from these coaches regarding Willie Taggart.
This concludes the thoughts of other coaches on Florida State.
How about that, huh?
That's it makes you want to be hammered right after the game.
It makes me excited about the fact that they obviously believe wholeheartedly in what Norvell brings to the table and what he can get done in year one and how quickly he can get this turned around. It's not, they do note what we've already noted, which is this is not an overnight fix. So,
but it's overnight to be able to be in the upper half of the ACC.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you couple that with what they say about Louisville, and we'll save some of these for later in the show, one of the things that I note there, I went through all of them, but when they kind of compare and contrast the divisions, what would typically be the divisions, you can tell they think that Florida State's still the second best team in the Atlantic. Now, this year we don't have divisions, but you know what I mean. I mean, you can tell they still think that Florida State's the second best team. So, I mean, really, in essence, if we just got to tidy things up and make a run, make a push over the next 3 years at Clemson.
Be a good time to get a big win over Louisville this year, just to stamp that home. Willie beat you twice. We beat you. You're never going to beat us again. That would be a good reminder to send to that caliber of 3 stars.
It's never going to happen.
You upper 3 stars. Don't even bother with Louisville. Come here.
Yeah. It's Jeff Cameron Show, Libations Friday edition.
Things that show your place.
Hockey's a weird sport. Did you think that the Islanders would so easily dispatch the Caps?
No, I bet on Washington in Game 2 to bounce back, and when they didn't, that's when I thought, ooh. There are times when teams can lay an egg for a couple of games and bounce back, and you could see it, that their game is close. Like when Washington won the Cup, Columbus was actually up 2-0 on them.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And so they win 4 straight, and they go on to win the whole prize, and that was the first round of the playoffs. But watching the way the Islanders play the Caps for 2 games and that Washington really had little to no answer, he thought, or at least I thought, Barry Trotz wins, not the Caps.
I in other sports, I think I have a better grasp, and it would make sense. Didn't grow up glued to hockey in the same way that you did. But in other sports, I have a better grasp for potential upsets and certainly a feeling about matchups. And, styles make fights, as they say. And so a lot of times you can look at certain elements. It could be a line, could be whatever else that doesn't match up well. And you think, that's going to get exploited and ultimately be tough to overcome. But I don't do it as well, especially for teams outside of the Lightning's division. I struggle with it.
Well, what the Islanders do is a lot like what the Columbus Blue Jackets do, which is you don't have a ton of stars. You don't have a ton of star power. You got some players, but you've just got to be a unit of 5 in your own zone. It's weird because it's attacking, and yet it's kind of like prevent football, where you're just collapsing in front of the net and you're guarding against the worst case scenario. But what it ends up playing out as is like a Baltimore Ravens team of a couple decades ago, where it's if you score 17, you're going to be in pretty good shape. You've got a real chance to win this game. If you score 2, probably going overtime. You score 3, you might win that thing in regulation. And also, when you combine that with the fact that the Islanders coach knows everything about that Washington roster, you've got, in an odd way, a mismatch, even though Washington's a far more talented team.
Well, he was always guarding against whatever weaknesses he knew existed, so you get that chance to exploit it, then you're set. You're like, oh, guys, I know how teams could have beat us, and we're equipped to do it, which is really cool. Go all the way back to thinking about the Raiders-Bucks Super Bowl. I mean, it's so rare where you have a circumstance where that kind of success is met with being dealt in some way. I mean, in Gruden's case, he's traded. In this case, they let a guy walk for money after he's just won you a Stanley Cup. There are few circumstances in the history of sport where you can find a championship-winning coach who the following year, I know the Raiders didn't win the Super Bowl with Gruden, they got to the AFC Championship game, and had they not got screwed by the Tuck rule, would have gone to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So he basically took the Raiders all the way to the mountaintop and then was traded.
Well, and it's a perfect confluence of events if you're a Bucs fan, because the Bucs defense was good enough to take advantage of the keys and the information that they were getting. Like, if the Bucs defense was mediocre, it might help a little bit, but if you're too slow, you're too slow.
Yeah.
But if you've got, potentially 3 or 4 Hall of Famers before the voting is all done on these guys' careers, if you've got potentially 3 or 4 Hall of Famers on one defense at different levels of the defense, and they've got that kind of skill, and you're going to give them the extra half step that they already have, like they are already quicker than you, they're already better than you, but now they know what you're about to do as well. Good luck, and that's what happened.
I just saw where, by the way, this is unrelated to anything we're talking about right now, but it does concern the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is a team you can listen to and hear right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. All the Tom Brady frills and ups and downs of a season, buddy. We got it right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
4 Sundays from right now.
How about them apples? A real game.
A real game.
Matt Gay missed 4 kicks today of the 5 that he attempted.
Is that so?
We can't have nice things. We can't, we draft kickers whenever, 2nd round, 5th round.
Just got to win the games outright. Okay.
So
call the game accordingly, idiots.
Yeah,
play to win via touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, this might be where we're in luck, because my sense would be that Brady would tell our head coach, that's the wrong play. We're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that he's forced to acquiesce. Jameis couldn't do that. A lot of guys couldn't do that.
It's all right. He makes more kicks from longer distances.
One of the greatest lines ever, if by greatest I mean, what are you freaking talking about? Oh, that was the worst. That was probably the worst, and there were a lot of bad things to choose from. Clock management was high on that list too.
Yes, I had it down. I remembered all 10 of the errors that he made that we either covered for or lost for.
Well, the
Yes.
Rams game, he made an egregious one, and it didn't matter because Jameis threw for 5,000 yards in one
Yeah.
game. But, yeah,
Yeah, he used the timeout just before the half.
to give them an opportunity.
To give them an opportunity
Yeah.
to go down the field. They ended up kicking a field goal,
That's
which
correct.
could have come back to bite us in the butt. He did
Yeah.
the same thing against Russell Wilson in Seattle. He didn't use the clock properly, gave Russell a chance to win the game in regulation like a moron.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 10 more of those. Called a timeout when he didn't have one in week 2 against Carolina. We had to, they assessed a penalty, and it ended up being 4th and a half yard instead of 4th and 2.
Yeah.
And we get lucky that Vernon Hargreaves made one play in his career, and it was to stop McCaffrey or whoever it was on the end around.
It's a great play. I might note, by the way, that I care very little about updates in the kicking competition and much more in the way of Tristan Wirf's updates. Can you block now, this year, first game? Well, these are all things that really are going to dictate more than anything else the Bucs season, because that can't happen, that it doesn't matter, the Brady prowess, the kicking and all that, it all goes by the
I
wayside.
haven't brought myself to look at one Bucks update yet, and I know we're going to be doing the
Oh,
Scuttle Bucks in a couple of weeks.
well, I'm starting to do it on a daily basis. That's
You
why I
know
brought it
why?
up just now.
Because I can't trust Bruce. I can't. And Brady's going to be a corporate guy who talks and gives you only cliches.
Well, I don't care about what he has to say about after practice or after games, anything about that. If what I'm hearing is that he is a leader both on the field and in the locker room that they're responding to and they're more efficient, then their play on the field will say everything I need to hear. I don't have to hear them say words. I'll watch them play.
I hope that's true, but remember, Bruce had said things were totally fixed. We have totally fixed our issue in the secondary, and that was in week 1. And Daniel Jones throws anywhere he wants, anytime he wants.
Oh, don't bring that game up, please, because it still came down to a chip shot that my man kicked the ground before kicking the ball. This is a professional athlete.
Well, if we had totally fixed the secondary, I think we would have been okay in that game, considering we
do
scored on every possession of the first half.
And he kicked the ground. You're not wrong. It's just my man kicked the ground. I don't think bad kickers in high school do that. I don't. I never saw
Well, it's on a
anybody do
tee,
that.
that's why.
Well, no, but you remove the tee. Nobody's kicking the ground. Who kicks the ground? Your brain usually won't let you kick the ground. That's ridiculous. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. All right. Rolling along on a Libations Friday, loosey-goosey edition of the program. Good to have you along. Appreciate you joining us. I hope this finds you doing well. So much to get to, man, with football practice and, of course, all that's going on with the NHL, the NBA. Good stuff. The golf right now. A lot of fun. By the way, you want to email the program, you can. JCS at 979ESPNradio.com. You'll hear from an emailer later in the show. It's a good email. On Twitter, it's at Jay Cameron Show. Hello, YouTubers. I am, the world returned to norm, Tom. We were talking on yesterday's show what we hoped happened, what might happen, what is likely an overreaction. But I just alluded to the NBA playoffs, so should I at least mention here, right, that the Lakers woke up and obviously, you know what here's I'll be honest with you. You know, I hate the Lakers. I have my whole life. And so I can say that I want them to lose in any iteration of the Lakers. Like the Lakers that form 10 years from now, I hope they lose. So it doesn't really matter, right? It's the same way that we would say, like, whoever is on the University of Florida's football team in 10 years, I hope they suck, right?
So the Lakers are on that level for you?
No, God, no. I hate Florida and Miami way worse than that. But I'm saying just of teams in the NBA. Actually, there's no pro team that could ever reach the level of collegial hatred, right? I mean, that doesn't happen. We're much more invested in
this
our
region.
schools.
Yes, in this region, yes.
So, but yeah, the Lakers can't stand them, and so I would of course want to see Portland win that series, and it would be great. But at the same time, like you said yesterday, well, let's just see how this plays out and what happens. And in all likelihood, the Lakers are going to go on to win the series, as we said. But at the same time, I'd like to see something happen that at least gives them a scare. Now, they returned to Norman, completely dominated last night's game. Really wasn't competitive in any way. But it got me thinking, as much as I dislike them, I kind of now want to go back on something I said. I kind of want to see them win the series, the Lakers, that is. And here's why. Not because I want the cream to rise to the top and LeBron and Davis are more interesting and anything like that, right? Because a matchup potentially between the Lakers and this version of the Rockets, and you know I hate the Rockets, but this version of the Rockets and what they've chosen to do couldn't pit a more contrasting style than to have that matchup play out, right? Super small, over 60% of Houston shots come from beyond the arc, but now they've created this magnificent defensive unit that contests everything. It's unreal to watch the prolonged stretches of time that Houston has defended at an elite level in their series against the Thunder. So even a-hole, who I can't stand, is defending, and he never has. This is kind of weird. So the super sizable Lakers, who are just big and clunky and weird, not really aesthetically pleasing in any way, they're goofy, against a really small, tenacious, scrappy Houston team, could find me, of all people, rooting for Houston.
Well, yeah, it's a win-win for you because whoever loses, you can laugh at.
That's true. That's true. I could. And then if we're looking at brackets, Nuggets Jazz is really, really good. Clippers Mavericks. Okay, so Dallas is a tough out. And this is a team that, boy, the Clippers are probably like, we really didn't need Dallas here. This is I still pick the Clippers, but they might be thinking we really didn't need Dallas in the first round.
Dallas can win the whole thing.
Well, Dallas can be the West representative. Yes, I think they can.
Who in the East would stop them? I mean, like, if you're just saying, like, the East representative is going to be, like, Milwaukee is that much better than Dallas? I don't know.
I think Milwaukee's better
Toronto?
than Dallas. I think Toronto's better than Dallas. I think Boston might be better than Dallas. Okay. I like the Miami Heat, too. The East is really actually pretty loaded. That's a fun conference right now. That bracket is really interesting. Really interesting. Boy, if you're a Heat fan, you got to be so excited.
They are on their way to cruising through Indiana.
Their future is really bright. If you just look at the Heat, the way they've set this team up, their best years are ahead of them, and they're pretty good now. So that's going to be
Get ready for the nauseating takes on the Western Conference, though. Had one today driving into the office. There was a liner from Greeny promoting Greeny today at noon saying, the Lakers blew out the Blazers just like I told you they would. More today at noon. Okay, we're going to play that game. We're going to live and die on every Laker result until they're bounced.
Lakers-Rockets, weird, fun, interesting series. I already said that I love what we're getting with the Nuggets and the Jazz. I think the Jazz will win the series, but the Mavericks, if they are to knock off the Clippers, I think then would knock off either the Nuggets or the Jazz. So fun. I mean, this is fun. It's all you want. You want it really highly competitive, no foregone conclusions, no in-pin, write down so-and-so into the finals. I don't think you get it. There's no home court advantage for anybody either. So there's none of this, well, they got to go back to so-and-so's place now, and that tilts it in favor. Like right now, you'd be like, well, they're going back to Portland. No, they're not. So
that would be a hornet's nest. I know
Yeah.
Charlotte is the Hornets, but that would be a
Right.
hornet's nest there for Game 3 in a 1-1 series.
that's
Oh
where they
my
get screwed,
God.
though. That's where they get screwed, though. That's unfortunate, right? Because when you're the underdog team, if you pull off that first upset, now you've set yourself up to make a real go of it, but they don't get that. They don't get any of that. So they got to generate it themselves in front of cardboard cutouts and guys on a computer.
That's where I do miss fans. You're right.
You know?
Is the idea
Yeah.
of, ooh, now you've really got it stacked against you. In a best of 7 that you need to go in somebody else's building, that if it
Yeah.
calls 50-50 in hockey, the official's arm's going to go to the sky for 2 minutes, or it's not if it's the away team. And same thing in the NBA. Dame would get 5 extra calls in Game 3 if it was played in Portland.
Well, and people would, yeah. I mean, I hope people are watching just because I really like that guy. I would love to see him, his star shine even greater.
He's also one of those types that if he has to play through an injury, he's somebody you might think that gets better with an injury. That's not every player. Like Ben Roethlisberger, right? He always wants to tell you about how he's hurt and how he's working through what makes, everything is so difficult. But I'm going to gut it out for the team, and it's just like, all right, Ben, roll your eyes. I was thinking of retiring, and this game's so hard. All right, Ben. Dame seems like he's got a dislocated finger. That's just going to make him better. And he's been kind of lousy since the first half of Game 1. So I feel like he's going to start off 6 of 8 in this next game.
Yeah, and he, there's just so much what for. It's so much chutzpah. It's like the fact they won that first game without shooting well and without him, he didn't score in the third quarter.
He was 5 of his first 7, and he was garbage the rest of the way.
Yeah,
from the field.
Yeah, and then 2 big shots, including one from just across half court in the fourth quarter, which the fact that he steps out around those screens just out this side of half court and effortlessly, it's like when we talk about pitchers throwing an easy 95. We've seen Steph do it, but very few people throw up an easy half-court three-pointer. It's just, there's no extra anything. It's just, I'm in rhythm. It's Cabangeli straight on at the top of the key.
Yep.
In rhythm. Catch, that is money.
That month that nobody knew what to do with, that the adjustments hadn't been made, was a great month. Because you're like, wow, this dude affects everybody at all ends of the court and in both ways in the half court offensively. In transition, you're like, yeah, that's right, you trail. Go ahead, trail. Fee, they don't know what's coming.
All that did was create the excitement about what could still be done with him the following year that we didn't get. One of these times, one of our guys is going to stay for that year. Like Patrick Williams didn't, like Fiondu didn't. We're going to get that year, and you're going to go,
like Vassell could have. Yeah.
I mean, all the guys where you talk about
Beasley would have been really important if he came back for another season.
Oh, well, yeah. He has elite college player written all over him. Average NBA player because he's undersized, but elite college player.
What could
Jump
have
out
been.
of the gym, loved the university, loved playing here, oh, well, hey, it's a good problem to have. The bottom line is with Florida State basketball these days is if we're lamenting that our players are continually opting to go play in the NBA because there's a good chance they're going to get drafted in the first round, then we're doing one hell of a job of recruiting. And that, again, appears to be the case because it would seem to me as we look up and down this roster for the upcoming season, we're again going to be wishing that guy would have come back for another year, right? That's what we're going to have. So good on you. It's kind of like when your coaches are being sought after. It's not a bad thing to have year in and year out concerns that you're going to lose your defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator. It means you're kicking ass and you've got the right guys. It's especially not so bad or fret-worthy when you trust the guy who makes the evaluation on the next hire, and that seems to be a strength, certainly at Norvell.
Boy, that took me back to a time and place that is not right now. I hope we start to get poached. I hope that we have
Means
guys
we're winning a lot. Yeah.
interviews with the creme de la creme of either college ranks or they want a position coach job at the NFL. That'd be nice to have guys that are wanted again.
Yeah, I would love those worries and those rumors to start where you're like, oh, man, we're going to lose Fuller. That looks like the Patriots are trying to bring him in. You know, and it would suck, but you're like, okay, that means we're dominant. It means he's done a great job. It means, like, guys are being put where they should be and are executing. That'd be nice. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. I always enjoy the opportunity to pimp, celebrate one of our many sponsors who help us stay on the air and conduct this show on a daily basis. But I especially like to do that in a short segment here, Tom, where I can tell you that I fixed something. I fixed something. That's right. Go ahead, pick up your jaw off the floor. I fixed something with tools. I did it yesterday. What do you think of them apples? I'll tell you what it was in a second. First, let me tell you about my friends at Keith McNeil Plumbing, largest pure plumber in Tallahassee. Moreover, their huge staff of experts, 24/7 available to you. If you've got a leaky faucet, you got a problem of any kind, bursted pipes, bursted. I said it. I think it's just burst. But really, any of that stuff that we know we associate with, needing fixed leaks, drips, faucets, sewer
The
replacements.
kitchen's underwater.
Yeah, we got issues over here, man. Toilet's not working, clogged sewer lines, low water pressure, you name it. My boys, Keith McNeil Plumbing, that's who you want to call, 24-hour emergency service. Give them a call today, 850-562-5504. Real quick, I did call them. I had an emergency. They came out and fixed it and kind of began a relationship. I called to thank them not only for the job that they did, but to tell them that they did a great job. And then we started talking, and next thing you know, they said, well, we love your show too, Jeff. I said, all right, guys,
It's a
come
mutual
on.
love society.
Let's go. Let's talk about each other. Let's
World
do that.
needs more love.
Yeah, here we go. I fixed my son's bike, my youngest son's bike. The pedal had become warped, and somehow the screw had gotten stripped that goes into the little I don't know the names of bike parts, people. That goes into the pedal itself, like I don't know
The
what that's.
footrest?
Well, the footrest fell off,
Mm-hmm.
but it was connected to this massive screw that was then connected to that thing that comes down. That's the actual, like the lever.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, got it?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a mess. It required a lot of staring, thinking, undoing. I took the whole lever and the pedal itself and the big screw apart, started from scratch, Tom, got a wrench and a pair of pliers and a new screw and redid it and reattached it, and it works like new. Now, somebody listening to this at home says, Jeff, that sounds like a very easy fix. You don't know me and my ineptitude when it comes to fixing virtually anything. I can't fix a damn thing.
You're the opposite of McNeil Plumbing when it comes to
The
issues in your home.
antithesis. That is the truth. But maybe just because I'm 49, maybe the wisdom is washing over me in due time. I was remarkably calm, too, as I fixed it. No curse words, no throwing of anything, despite sitting out in the heat, Tom, doing that.
So typically you would throw something as you're fixing things.
Because I'm inept. Because usually I can't fix it, and I'm required to throw something at a disgust with myself and my ineptitude. But not this time. Fixed. Walked in the house boldly, proudly. Son, your bike is fixed. Your dad fixed it. You're welcome.
Better not see you for the next 2 hours as you pedal around our fair neighborhood.
With your fixed pedal bike. Like new. That's your dad. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
They praise the music. This time
Pretty cool. You don't even have to be involved or like golf to know that this is an amazing accomplishment. Scotty Scheffler today shot a 59. Not too many people in the history of the game have thrown up a 59 in a PGA Tour event. He is now a member of the 59 Club. And think about it. Now, this is a guy who was in contention, and you wonder how he's going to respond after the disappointment of what happened at the PGA Championship. But he is just 24 years of age. I got to give Trey Jones a lot of credit. He pointed out Scotty Scheffler some time ago when we were talking college golf and said that, you know, of the young group that is pushing through, whether that's Matthew Wolff, Colin Morikawa, obviously, and others, don't overlook Scotty Scheffler, that he is a very, very talented player and that he'll make noise on the PGA Tour. He missed, by the way, an eagle putt on 18, but instead it was, you know, a simple birdie, which gave him a 59. He would have shot a 58 had that dropped. Whew. It's an incredible accomplishment. You know, it's. Well, how many people now I'm looking at? That's the 12th sub-60 round in PGA Tour history. That's right.
I remember when Furyk did it about 4 years ago.
2016, exactly.
Yeah.
The Travelers.
Yeah, that was out of nowhere. He won the event by doing it on a Sunday. It was crazy.
He shot a 58.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it ended up holding up for the rest of the day, which, you know, that's going to happen if you're going to shoot a 58 rather than a 65. Boston is more gettable in real life than it is in the video games, I promise you. Because in the video games, you have to hit like intentional hooks to get around some of the ways that the course sets up for right to left shots or sometimes a left to right, but it's mostly a right to left player's course. But God, the numbers are astronomically low. It's almost like when the PGA rebooted after COVID, and you're like, is the course going to put up a fight? That's the way it looks like it's setting up from afar.
Now, you know the Northern Trust was played on a different course in Boston for a long time. Is that the one that's in the video game?
Is it not TPC anymore?
So, I mean, I know that they have – this is TPC Boston, yes, in Norton, Mass.
Okay, same one.
But they've played – like, for example, I think Patrick Reed won the Northern Trust, but it was played on a different course.
Got you. So the sponsorship may roll over from
Yeah.
place to place.
Yeah.
I know TPC Boston, though, for sure.
Yeah, the numbers are really good right now. There have been a lot of guys go low. Cameron Davis went 64-65 to start his 2 rounds. He's one shot back of Scotty Scheffler. If Scheffler doesn't show up a 59, he's clearly comfortably in the lead.
And I'd say maybe it's a different time of the year, but the playoffs are always around this time. So this is the way the course plays.
Yeah. I'm really mad at myself because I wanted to take Matthew Wolff, and I didn't. I kind of wrestled with it, and he's 10 under. Frustrating. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. A lot of guys, finishing really, really impressive rounds. And you're going to see low numbers, obviously, all throughout the week. It'll be fun to watch. I mean, Daniel Berger, last I looked, is well under par, so we'll continue to monitor those guys. Obviously, we said it yesterday on the show, but Brooks Koepka is out for the foreseeable future until we get – he's trying to just rehab till they get to the U.S. Open, where he wants to obviously compete. But there is some doubt about that.
What a tough time to be going through this, though, because you got the November Masters followed by the Masters in April. So if you're looking for the typical break, I understand the PGA Tour season wraps around these days, but, you know, if you're trying to get set for a major, a la what Tiger is doing for the bulk of his, twilight years of his career, it's like, I'm going to build it around the busy part of my season. Well, you're just busy all over the calendar right now because you got a November Masters, then you got to turn around for April.
Turn right around.
And you got to be able to do some things in the Florida swing if it's going to continue on as we've done it in the past. The Players, the Honda, all those events that are around February and March.
I love those events, yeah.
It's like, when can you actually shut it down for 3 months at a time? And I don't know that there is an opening unless you just say no to a major, which has got to be really hard.
I think for Brooks, I'm more concerned. You're right. I mean, where he'll find rest, he's finding it now. He's basically bowed out of the FedEx Cup race, and so he can't win Player of the Year or anything like that. But for him, you're going to rehab, you're going to condition, you're going to, he had on-course medical help a few weeks back. You recall they were pulling at his hip and messing with his knee as well. Turns out the hip was the bigger deal. It's the torn labrum in the hip. And sometimes those require surgery. Other times those just require a lot of rest, and it mends itself. And then you kind of rehab it through physical means. But if he needs surgery, he's going to miss a year of golf. It's from what I understand, Coach Jones had that in his hip. He said the rehab is awful. It's a common injury in golf because people load into that backside and they load through.
So it's not a compensation injury for his knee? It's probably a separate issue?
Don't know.
Yeah.
It could very well be. We all know that everything is connected in the human body. So you got a bad foot, you could end up hurting your shoulder. It's a crazy thing. But and it's true. It's true. But
it's true.
But the interconnectivity of it all, and it's a kinesiology thing. And I just wonder with him what's going to happen because I worry about him in the sense that guy lives for the majors, and if he can't get right, then he's gonna. If we get close to the U.S. Open and he can't compete, then shut it down, have the surgery, and be done, and come back whatever a year from now. But that's a long time to be out of competitive golf, man. The one thing I will say, you've brought this up before. I know what his counter is. It's a good counter, but when we look at bulked up golfers, Rory McIlroy back when he's now slimmed down considerably. Tiger Woods when he's now slimmed down considerably. Obviously, we see what Bryson DeChambeau is doing, although he's doing nothing at TPC Boston. He's just even par through 2 rounds. But we see the successes he's had. Invariably, it leads to the body breaking down because there is so much force, so much power, so much torque being put on the body. In this case, the knee and the hip, because you're so strong, and the abs and all of that, right?
Well, and also injury through working out because you need to maintain a crazy regimen to be as bulked up as Tiger Woods was in, say, 2002, 2003.
But even if you can safely do that, and you can, there are plenty of people who work out who are much bigger than these guys, and they stay in great shape, and they don't have injuries because they're not wrenching their body at unimaginable force with the added strength that they've gained. The thing is that you may be able to do that for a year. You may be able to do it for 10 years. But we know that when you elevate the swing speed and generate that through that added strength and bulk of muscle, eventually things begin to break down. What Koepka would tell you is, I won 4 majors. Good point.
While being huge.
Well, I'm saying that's only once he got huge.
Right.
So he would tell you, yeah, it was worth it. If I never win another tournament, 4 majors, Hall of Fame, millions of dollars. Glad I bulked up. Okay. Well, Tiger obviously, I guess, could argue the same, and second best player in the history of the game, of course. Although the difference is, I think you could argue with Tiger because he had success when he was a string bean.
Yeah.
That you didn't have to do that. You still would have won 15 majors.
Well, Tiger Slam Tiger wasn't 2003 Tiger.
Right.
He was in great shape.
Oh, yeah,
but he wasn't like ripped to the point where you're just going, What's the goal here? Are you trying to win 18 or 19 majors? Or are you trying to bench 450?
You start at safety for the Raiders.
Right.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, Koepka's retort will always be, and rightfully so, I won 4 majors doing it that way. Go to hell. And I have no response to that other than, you're right. DeChambeau hasn't won a thing that in regards to majors. Obviously, he's been very successful on the tour, but he has not won anything in majors. And I think you can argue, given his talent, that maybe Rory is underachieved. I mean, he is a unique talent. Now,
it's 2014 the last time he won.
He also has slimmed down, and he was the player of the year last year, and I know it's argumentative, but you can get into the number of tournaments won and all that. He did seem to have a renaissance, and he's still young enough that he could go on and win 2 or 3 more majors, and there's no way you could call that a disappointment. Yeah, it's fascinating. It seems to me in golf that this debate, and there is a lot of nuance in that debate about what somebody is or is not. The number one guy on this list as to whether or not they're disappointments and or raging successes or raving successes, Dustin Johnson. That's always the guy we come back to because he has just the one. He should have 2. He got screwed, but just the one major. But he's won every year he's been on tour. And people don't do that. I mean, it's hard to win a golf tournament. He does it every year. Literally every year. So how can that be a failed career, right? You win every year, you're on the tour? It's not. And yet, it's a prodigious talent that we view with him. Right? I mean, he is uniquely gifted. Nobody bows their wrist like that or is that kind of flexible.
Sure, but it might be a longevity thing that gets him into the Hall of Fame and certainly not, the top line of the resume that gets him into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it will be for him. I think you would argue now that he's already in. He won more than 20 events? I think he's in.
Yeah, you're doing so over a regular season achievement. It's It's not quite Don Sutton. We were talking about him off the air the other day.
Yeah.
It's not quite Don Sutton because he's been around forever. He just happened to amass the magic number. But it's not, Sandy Koufax. It's not Bob Gibson.
Right. Well, and that's what's interesting when you bring up Sandy Koufax. It's not unlike bringing up Gale Sayers in the NFL. Those guys put up incredible numbers in a very truncated period of
Right.
time. And so they're getting in solely on dominance, really short-lived.
Right. And that's kind of what Brooks would get
Well,
in on.
that is exactly what Brooks is
He
getting
got to
in on.
4, so I think he gets in no matter what. But if
Oh,
you
he's
look
already
at,
in. He's
like,
already in.
last year's performance in the majors is almost as good as another major when you're talking about legacy, right? Because you win one, you finish solo second at the U.S., you finish tied for second at the Masters,
Yeah.
and he's top 5 in the British Open.
Tell Ricky Fowler it's almost like winning a major. He did the same year.
Oh, he did, but he just didn't have the one.
But my point is that it's almost like winning a major, but it's not, and it is incredible. It aids the argument for him, but there is no argument for Brooks. He's already in. It's inarguable. He's in. He doesn't have to do anything else. If he never plays golf again, he's in. But which is pretty cool. I mean, there is no golfer that has ever won 3 majors that's not in the Hall of Fame. So he's getting in. And he's got more than that. So.
Well, and the crazy thing is if it really was the labrum and it's that bad, and it was that bad, so you're dealing with 2 injuries, the rehab of one, and then something else is hurting you all the more.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a chance to win a PG. I know he lays an egg on Sunday, but you've got a chance. Your talent is
you're
such
in position
that
on a Sunday.
you've got it, and you've been playing like crap all year leading up to it. There's been a one good finish after COVID.
Yeah.
But you've got a 2-way miss. You got your hip doesn't work, your knee doesn't work, and your willpower puts you in position where on hole 54 of the tournament, you're in the green side bunker and you stick it to 3 feet because you need to have it. So it's still in there. It's just, can you rehab it right?
So a capper on this discussion before moving on. Most disappointing all time in your mind based on, as I just described, prodigious talent.
Got it.
Hold on. I know one of your choices. I think the other is the other choice that you would posit, but I'm going to pit them together. Is Freddie Couples more disappointing than Adam Scott?
Oh, that wasn't even my guy.
Well, to me, it has to be. There's never been a more beautiful swing, consistently beautiful swing than what we've seen from Adam Scott.
Yeah, that's an incredible swing. There's no doubt. But
How do you not win more?
Sergio Garcia is the answer.
Well,
The hell is wrong with Sergio?
Well, he got his major, just like Adams got his one.
Mm-hmm.
They each have one, and they each have won a lot of events.
Now, Adams got the prettier golf swing, but Sergio Garcia is renowned, in the way Fred Couples was, as a ball striker that is reserved in his own class.
Yeah.
And if you're that way, and Sergio's still a good golfer. He's not what he was at his peak.
Right. Well, once
But-
he won the Masters, you could tell he's kind of like
99 was it Hazeltine, wherever it was, the famed PGA Championship where he hooks around
behind
the tree.
Yeah.
That's 21 years ago, and he's been good that entire time, like really good. And you've got one major, and he's got the game. He's always had it.
Well, they each have the same major. They each have the Masters.
Yeah.
If you're going to win one, it's a good one to win. I don't know, man. It's amazing to me. Okay, Adam Scott has won 14 times on the PGA Tour. All right? Now he's won 11 on the European Tour. The resumes are almost identical. It's what you end up with. Sergio Garcia and Adam Scott are the same guy. Prodigious talent, enough wins,
Yeah.
just the one major. How is it possible? It's crazy.
They both have a Players.
Yes, they both have a Players. Sergio's win at the Players was more impressive. Adam Scott tried to give it away, threw it in the drink for no reason from the middle of the fairway. Give him credit for the up and down, but that was something.
I remember where I was watching that hole. It was like I wanted to puke for him.
So Adams got tied for third twice in the PGA Championship.
Sergio's runner-up.
He has a second place at the U.S. Open, fourth place at the U.S. Open in 2015, and he has a choked away British Open where you
2012.
and I were in Charlotte.
Yep.
So yeah, that's it. That's what he's got.
And then Sergio has he's the foil to Padraig Harrington. Otherwise, he'd have 3 or 4 right now.
Yeah, and an ant apparently that hit his ball on a putt
Yeah.
that's going
A little
center.
slider left to right and
That's-
it's a little too much.
He got absolutely boned.
That's what he. Well,
I mean, that was,
well,
that was
yeah,
so
I suppose
wrong.
he did.
It was terrible. I mean, that was awful. By the way,
Didn't
Sergio,
expect that one.
Sergio's got 10 wins on the PGA Tour.
Bend over.
16, so he's got more wins on the European Tour than Adam does. He's got 6 wins on the Asian Tour. Throw that in there. And of course, he's won the Masters, which he did in 2007. Sergio has 2 second places in the PGA, 2 second places in the Open,
One to Rory
and
at Liverpool,
and a tied for third at the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! I hope he's satisfied with the win that he got. And it took chutzpah. He did have to win it. Justin Rose and he were in a war.
They were.
And
Justin is another one with just the one major, but he's not in their class, I don't think.
I don't think he's in their class as a player. I wouldn't even put it. Well, I shouldn't say
he's a really good player.
He's a really good player, but I don't think it's close to in terms of talent.
I surprised you with the Sergio.
Yeah, you surprised me with the Sergio because I think Adam Scott. I just don't know how you have that kind of swing, the beauty of that swing.
It's distracted by the mirror. That's the only answer, right?
But he wins, and he's in and everything. He's playing well this week.
God, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
What do I need to do again?
But he seems so serene. He seems at peace on the course. I never see him look flustered, ever. Like Sergio is frequently flustered and yelling about it. So is John Rahm and Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka and Tiger Woods and everybody. Not Adam ever.
But you would think it would generate the willpower that you see from Sergio in the Ryder Cup so often.
Yeah, you're right.
Like he finds a way to chip the ball in the hole or knock it in from 35 feet in the Ryder Cup.
Well,
but God forbid
Cup.
it's a tie down 3 holes, 3 holes to go at the U.S. Open or the British Open.
If the Ryder Cup were the gauge, Ian Poulter would be a Hall of Famer of all time too, because he can't miss a putt in the damn Ryder Cup. It is unreal.
That guy would be a Hall of Famer.
He's an assassin. It's unreal. But my original question, and we probably protested too long on this, who's more disappointed to you, Adam Scott or Fred Couples? It's got to be Fred Couples, right?
I don't. That's a very tough question for me because Fred Couples' prime was as I was a child. I remember watching all of Adam Scott's career, so I'd have to bias it to Adam Scott because I've seen more of him and the hype. I lived through the Adam Scott hype. Freddie was just already like this folk hero by the time I was really watching the game.
Pretty amazing. They're very similar players. It's so weird. Sergio Garcia, Adam Scott, Fred Couples, if you want to talk about career, are basically the same guy. They've all won between 11 and 16 times on the tour. Freddie, 15. They all have a major, the Masters. They share that, the same one, right? They have international victories as well.
They all have a players, too. I believe Freddie's won one.
They do have they all have a players. You're right. They all have a players, and they all have a Masters, and they all have between 11 and 16 wins. And they all have international wins as well.
That is spooky.
They're the same guy. And they all have amazing talent that they should have gotten more out of, or so we think.
So the question is, who is more disappointing? The answer is yes.
Jeff Cameron, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hey, business owners out there, I'm talking to you. You need to give your office environment a deep clean for any reason. Contact Rescue Decon today. Hal and the crew in Rescue Decon use the top-of-the-line Curus system, which is EPA certified. Removes 99.9% of all bacteria. That includes the coronavirus. And more. If your business needs a deep clean, head to rescuedecon.com today or call 566-5553. That's 566-5553. Tell Rescue Decon that the one and only Jeff Cameron sent you. You'll get a discount. I don't think you're required to say the one and only. I added that to the copy. But if I had my say, if you walked in there and or you called Hal at Rescue Decon and you dialed 566-5553 and Hal answered and you said, "Hey, Hal, this is Mike, and my office needs a deep clean. The one and only Jeff Cameron sent me." I'd give you extra. I'd give you extra off that.
My goodness. You enjoy that, Reed, for that reason. You like painting the picture
Of the
contacting.
conversation?
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. Well,
Do you have a referral, sir?
here's what I like to do. I like to make it easy on people. I like to prep people for what they're going to encounter. So I just make the call for them. Here. I play it out. It's that easy. That guy, Mike, he might be picking up his phone right now because he has a blueprint. He knows now. Jeff just did it. "Hey, Hal, it's Mike. My office needs a deep cleaning. The one and only Jeff Cameron sent me." Boom. That's how easy it is. That's how easy it is. You know what? We like helping people on the Jeff Cameron Show, and we like when you respond to that help. We got an email last night, Tom. Get the beep button ready, because I just love this email. The person did not leave their name, but they did leave their sentiment. And, sometimes there's a little blowback when we tell you to perhaps engage one way or the other on a particular sporting event, and it doesn't go our way. We'll get a similar email, but not nearly as encouraging.
The beep button doesn't work for the YouTube feed, so
Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, get ready to hear me curse. If that's enough to ruffle your sensibilities, then perhaps you should turn down your
Matthew's
computer.
going to try, but he has to pull the source out and,
Yeah. It's okay, guys. It's just YouTube. You can handle a curse word here and there. There's so much worse going on all around the world right now than whether or not I curse. Come on, hang in there. So this is the email. I'm looking at it right now on my computer, and I'm so proud of this person. This email, Tom, you always like me to note when I read an email when it came in. We can learn a lot. It's like one of my tweets at 3 o'clock in the morning. You can learn a lot about state of mind. You can learn. That's true of anybody. I know when Tom's nipping at the cup, just certain emails or tweets from him as well. All of us reveal it every now and again. Nothing salacious, nothing terrible. For me, it's usually a song. Nothing bad about that. But here you go. I don't know this gentleman's name, but the email came in at 11:54 p.m. So I think they were reveling in their success that the Big Daddy J wager parlay of the day provided them. You ready? Subject: fuck yeah. That's the subject. Oh, that's the best subject I've seen in a long time on an email. Nice hockey under-over. He didn't even put over-under. He just put under-over, which is, again, 11:54 p.m.
Well, that's when it hit, though, because that's the second period of the second game.
No, I know. He's watching carefully. Yeah. He's watching carefully. At 11:54 on a Thursday.
Hot damn, Big Daddy's done it again.
Love you guys. Love the show. Thanks for that steak money. You are welcome, EO.
Hot damn, Big Daddy's done it again.
Yeah. What a night, man. How cool is that? So I think we should probably parlay here. Another opportunity. Do you have one in the NHL? Should we queue it up? Should we get after a wager?
Hey, Big Daddy, having some Red Russians tonight?
We'll know in about 47 seconds.
Into an open wing. It's picked up by Doughty. An empty net. He scores.
Hot damn, Big Daddy's done it again.
Woo! Red Russians all around, Teddy.
All right, Big Daddy.
Per conversations earlier today, rapid fire, Tom Lang, you're going with under 2.5 goals tonight for the Montreal Canadiens. That's at minus 150.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
Big Daddy J's wager of the day.
It's expensive to play it, but I just this is a shutdowns game for Philadelphia. Montreal scored 5 last time out. That's not sustainable. The Canadiens really aren't that offensively gifted. It would be another outlier. Don't put a ton on it because it's expensive to play at minus 150, but you just want to spruce up the night a little bit.
Yeah.
Minus 150, Montreal's going to score 2 or fewer goals.
Instead of regular butter, you're going with a little garlic butter tonight. That's what we do when we watch the game. It's not regular butter tonight. A little garlic butter.
And the grand scale of I'm not so sure to throw it down. Last night was a throw it down night. Tonight is let's just make it a little more interesting.
Last night, yesterday afternoon, I irresponsibly suggested that you go hardcore on the wager. If you did, you sent me an email like the one I just read.
Hot damn, Big Daddy's done it again.
If you did not, right now you go, damn it, I didn't trust him. But Big Daddy's right more than he's wrong, and I should have done it.
Don't double down tonight just because you missed yesterday. Tonight is like
Don't chase.
All
Don't
right.
chase. We're here all year long. There are other opportunities. No need for you to chase just yet. But if you got some potato chips laying around, a little pizza money, take the under 2.5 at minus 150.
If you want to get a little squirrely and in the weeds and you're a hockey better, look at the NHL 3-way and take Philadelphia plus 110. That's the fun one for me tonight.
Well, that's just
But it's not an official recommendation.
That's just a straight up winner in regulation is what that means at home, folks.
That's
It's a 3-way.
That's the off the books Red Russian play. All right, it's the off the books play. Because that's in the weeds.
We'll
for
go
hockey.
from a 3-way to the Grand Salami. Pretty soon we're putting it all together, baby. Good times. This is like a show for swingers. People are like, what's going on the Jeff Cameron show? There's all this crazy language.
Next thing you know, they control our debt and we're stumping for them.
Yeah, good times. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for this week. What a sterling week of shows. You are welcome. We have been fantastic this week. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming, free always. Miss portions of the program, get caught up. Don't be so damn lazy. You go get caught up. It's a busy weekend, probably a lot of rain. You're going to be holed up in your house, wishing you were outside, and then you're going to go, Eureka! I could listen to the Jeff Cameron Show. I missed 3 shows this week. Thank goodness they're all here on Apple Podcasts. You can also email the show if you like, jcs at 979ESPNradio.com. On Twitter, it's at Jay Cameron Show. WTSM app, good for your mobile devices. Hello, YouTubers. I hope this finds you doing well. I really do. All right, so, quote, unquote, Mike Norvell about today's football practice. Let's begin there. Good work today. Might have been our best practice. I'm excited because we got after it today. I like the start of that, huh? I wanted to see the guys really push on both sides of the ball, and they came out and competed at a very high level. It was back and forth. Got some situational work in from third and long to overtime, some really good special teams. I was really pleased. Woo! I think they took an incredible message last night from Warrick Dunn. Service, sacrificed, respect. I think he embodies that in all aspects. I wanted him to share his heart. It was an incredible message. I was honored to have him here last night. That's awesome. Yeah, Tom and I agree wholeheartedly on this. We have for many years. I don't know of a person, let alone a Seminole, who doesn't have great admiration for Warrick Dunn. Not only what he was, obviously, in his playing days here and on into the NFL, where he was a very, very good football player. That much is obvious. But the man that he is and what he's overcome and how he's put that tragedy to use in his own life by enriching so many others is truly the thing of hero stories, right? And hero worship is the kind of thing. He's the guy that you do want to hold on high and perhaps overstate the platitudes because he's that good a person.
Yeah, it's usually tongue-in-cheek and an over-the-top hype montage or introduction. And sometimes it's just plainly on a sign when you're driving into a town, the pride of wherever.
Right.
Warrick Dunn is the pride of this athletic department, of this program, of what it means to be a Florida State Seminole. There are others in the conversation, but Warrick Dunn is the pride of the Seminole Nation, the fans, that is.
I would say if you took the collective lovers of college football, the fans all across the country, the really locked in, tuned in, historically knowledgeable college football fans across the country and said, nominate 10 guys that both on the field and off the field had the greatest impact in college football and then maybe went on to play pro. Identify 10 guys that are synonymous with greatness in almost all walks of life, right? Whether it be on the field as a player and what they meant to their school and the successes they had while they were attending college, but also what they did for humanity or did in their communities or did in their region, wherever it might be, right? Warrick Dunn would have to be a guy that I think would emerge on the list of 10. There are others all over the country, and they all deserve spotlight, and there are great stories everywhere. But, man, you're hard-pressed to find a story better than that of Warrick Dunn's. I mean, it's tragic. Don't get me wrong. I certainly wish that much of what we know about Warrick Dunn wasn't true. Nobody would wish to have somebody's mother murdered, which then inspires the form of leadership and responsibility that he had to take on. But it did happen. And what he did with his life after and what he's done with his life after is awe-inspiring.
It's impossible for me not to hero worship Warrick Dunn because he was one of my football heroes growing up. It was he and Charlie Ward, but then Warrick was drafted to the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
as a child, I got to watch him, like going around Countryside Mall growing up. There were those Russell Athletic 28 jerseys everywhere. Everybody wore the Warrick Dunn jersey before he even became a Buck, and then he became a Buck, and he's got stoic grace to him, and he always has. On the football field, you never squared him up. He was always so smooth, a king of getting hidden yards, but then also he's ahead of his time as a pass catcher out of the backfield.
Very much so.
And then off the field, again, quiet but graceful. And his actions speak so much about who he is and where his heart is. And that's just, I'll never, ever be able to speak about him and not sound like a fanboy.
The only negative thing you can ever bring up about Warrick Dunn is how it is he allowed Deshaun Watson to go to Clemson. And I blame him for that. I blame him. He rightfully, that falls at his feet. We should all admonish him when we get a chance. He loves it. I'm kidding. Obviously, that story is famous, too, because of the house he provided Deshaun Watson's mother. Of course, he goes on to develop into an elite football player who then chooses to go to Clemson, inexplicably. But, okay, it happens. Warrick probably thought he had that one in the bag. Little did we know that he would be betrayed by Deshaun Watson. We all were.
Welcome to your new home on 123 Knoll Way.
Coach Norvell went on to say a few more things. It was my first time in person to meet him regarding Warrick Dunn. I've spoken with him on the phone before. unbelievable respect for him and the man that he is, his story, the impact he's had during his playing career, and even more impressively, the impact he's had after his playing career. His generosity, his service to impact the lives of others and communities, it's special. He asked for questions and for our guys to ask specific questions for what they're searching for in their own lives. It was really remarkable. I believe it. He said this about the second scrimmage. He will try to involve the clock, probably play 2.5 or 3 quarters, trying to keep guys locked into the flow of the game. Says the scrimmage will be based more off of time, probably have a similar rep count, won't be as situational as it was before. Quote, it's going to be a great work day. I'm excited about it. I absolutely love the relationships that you build through this game. Football is so competitive. There's so much that goes into the wins and losses. Obviously, it matters, but embracing the impact you can have, make somebody else's life great. That's why I got into the coaching business, as he loves the scheming as well and the game planning. Talked about it's a true joy to watch these young men grow up, and it's why it's rewarding. He's excited to watch them. He said something about your boy, Rodemaker. Oh,
Okay.
Do we have an emerging quarterback battle, Tom Lang?
I'm all ears. Bring it on. What is going on with the Rodemaker?
I've been really impressed with the development of all of the quarterbacks. Not just what they're doing on the field, but the growth they're having in the meeting room.
Oh, boy.
That's one thing we're challenging Chubba with over the next few weeks, the intensity of what he brings to the media room. The growth of Jordan Travis, quote, remarkable. I put no limits to what that young man can do. I really like his skill set. Rodemaker has a great future in front of him. He's composed. I'm excited about those guys. I think they can definitely help this football team.
Okay, so he gave a B, in the world of compliments, it's a B to the Rodemaker. That's an A+ to Jordan Travis. Did he just say that he's limitless?
Yes, I put no limits on what he can do. Yeah.
Well, that's the bigger of the
They're
compliments.
going to use him, Tom. They're going to use him in, I don't know how you couldn't. We watched in such a small sample size a young man just light a field on fire with his legs. You have to find a way to get him on the field. I can't imagine that he's and I've watched him throw a football. I mean, it's nothing to be awe-inspired by. But if you incorporate the legs and the magnificence of his elusiveness and then allow for him to throw off of that, you're going to be throwing to wide-open people because they're going to be so worried about what he does outside the pocket. You're going to get guys open. They got to find a way to incorporate it.
Okay, so Chubba, you're hurt, but you got to stay locked in, dude.
Yeah, yep, that's the message to Chubba. Get
Tate,
locked in.
be
yeah.
more like Tate. He's professional. He's prepared every day.
Yeah.
Jordan can be something, and then James is
leading
the
the
other
way.
conversation we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the assessment so far. We're going to learn more. By the way, he did bring up James. He said he's a very bright young man. Mistakes are going to happen. There are going to be good calls, good throws, bad throws, but making sure you can shut all of that off, no matter what lessons you've learned, good or bad, each play has to be its own entity. So they're really going to war on the psyche. And that's where they're going to have to go to war because he was a broken, shattered young man. That bowl game was an embarrassment to football everywhere. I could barely stomach watching that football team. Now, some of you took it the wrong way at the time that I tweeted what I did during that bowl game, and it pissed you all off. I don't care about that. What I'm saying is they humiliated themselves in the way that they played and performed and acted in much of that game, on offense in particular. Now, the defense showed up and did everything they could and all of that, but it was really a symptom of the poor coaching that was going on behind the scenes. I was not personally attacking those young men as much as I was attacking those coaches who did not do right by those young men, who put them in positions to embarrass themselves, and I hated it. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think they're going to be put in positions to succeed. They just might not be good enough in certain areas to, come out victorious at the end of the day. But if they play smart, if they play hard, if they play well, you'll handle those losses as long as we're witnessing growth.
Yeah, to me, the number one moment of this past season for James wasn't the bowl game. By that point, everything had gotten so toxic that it's hard to expect much of anything. And in that game, nothing was going right for the better part of 3 hours anyway. Gary Danielson and Brad Nessler were talking about the win. They didn't care about it either.
They were indeed.
Right, but the first time you were actually in person, it was the Virginia game where he misses wide open receivers and wide open reads. And to me, that is the symptom rising to the surface of the pressure that he puts on himself within, the pressure that he feels, the loneliness of being, listen, I may have a coach, I may have a position coach, I may have so many different voices over these last few years, but I don't know what to do with it all. I don't know how to flush it all. I don't know how to process it all. What do I keep? What do I let go? And next thing you know, you've got a wide open tight end over the middle, and you miss him. And we win the game if you hit the easy throw.
More than that, he has a wide open Tamorian Terry running 25 yards behind the nearest defender, and he throws it 10 yards over his head.
That is it. He's finally breaking. And then what the broke in him was the guy out in the bowl game. They're trying to repair him. They're trying to get him back to a place where he can just stop thinking and start throwing.
Yeah, that's definitely evident. Fall camp updates on the Jeff Cameron Show brought to you by Bud Light. Text football 20 to 31996 for a chance to win a Bud Light at-home viewing prize this football season. That's what you got a chance to win. 25 winners are going to be chosen, actually, so you got a real good chance. Text football 20 to 31996. You got to be 21 years of age or older in order to enter. That, a message from local Anheuser-Busch wholesaler Tri-Eagle Sales. Please drink responsibly. Still haven't had one of those grapefruit seltzers yet.
You thought you were going to break one in last time.
I didn't do it. I will. I'll at some point. I'm sure at some point when I'm doing yard work this weekend. That's a yard work kind of drink right there.
The humidity, sweating.
It's all right there. You know what? One of our favorite things happened. It came out. The ACC coaches talking anonymously about conference foes for 2020. I didn't notice this came out the other day in Athlon. We love these anonymous quotes because we can really dig in and kind of read between the lines. We'll do it next. Jeff Cameron Show 97.9 ESPN Radio. ACC coaches talk anonymously about conference foes for 2020. Siri is trying to find out as I speak to you guys what it is I need to know about ACC coaches. She just came on the phone. Isn't it amazing that certain things trigger Siri? I didn't say Siri. I didn't ask her anything.
Well, I can tell you that in doing the Joe Bolts, I had to stop once 2 weeks ago because I talked about a best-of-7 set of games. And what's the word? Well, it's very much close to your phone's name. A best-of-7 series.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm whispering so she doesn't pipe up here.
I said ACC coaches talk anonymously, and she just said, they did. Here's an article.
Anonymously being anonymous. Yeah.
I guess. All right. So, you guys, we do this every year. We referenced it earlier in the show. In fact, we had a pretty long conversation about it, but it's worth revisiting here. So, these coaches, typically, they don't want to say anything about opposing coaches or teams on the record, and that's why Athlon does this every year. They get scouting reports directly from coaching staffs, and they ensure them that they're not going to tell or reveal the source of the quote. And so you get a lot of honest dialogue. You don't know. A lot of times we can kind of read between the lines and figure out that's the head coach, that's so-and-so. But other times it might be an offense coordinator, defense coordinator, could be an assistant of some kind that had a comment about a certain segment on another team, whatever it might be. Here we go with, where do you want to start? Just Florida State, or you want to go rapid fire, kind of revisit it, do it a little different than we did last time? I know last time we began with Florida State.
An interesting one to me was Louisville.
All right. You want to go to Louisville.
Because that's considered to be a program on the rise by the fans, but what do the coaches in the business think about what the Cardinals are doing and what Satterfield's going to be able to do in year 2?
Quote, Scott Satterfield did an amazing job with one of the least talented rosters in Power 5. Those kids quit on Bobby Petrino, but came alive last year. They want to play for Scott. They need talent on defense at every position. Schematically, they're okay. Pretty simple. It looks like they want to be the kind of staff that throws everything into signing athletes and scheming simple concepts around that, not necessarily fitting talent to a style or scheme. All right, I'm double-check. I'm reading the right thing.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. That is interesting. Okay. Mikael Cunningham has a lot of upside and should only get better so long as they can keep the offensive line serviceable. Think of him right now as the poor man's Lamar Jackson. They have to place better athletes around him. Scott is calling the plays and doing a good job. They do great stuff out of play action. They can take some shots on you when you're not expecting it. We're curious what the ceiling is here. Bobby fell apart before they could figure it out there because it's not the old Big East job. How far can you take this program in this division? They're really going to have to work overtime to get the talent that you're going to need to be better than third in this division year in and year out. Well, that'll tell you that they believe that Louisville is destined to be behind Florida State. There ain't no other team they're picking second over the next several years.
Yeah, I find it interesting. It's no surprise to me that on defense they need help on every level, seeing as Willie Taggart beat Louisville twice, including once with Scott Satterfield, and it really wasn't that close last year, save for a couple of Hail Mary-ish type plays, weird deflections. But the idea also that Satterfield wants to scheme things around athletes and make it simple rather than what Norvell said earlier this week and was quoted saying, which is, look at what you got and make it work. So they need to recruit better because if they're losing to us right now on the recruiting trail, then yikes, what can they do?
Well, we keep taking their best players.
But we're not even us, and we're taking their best players.
We're not even up and running. We're curbside only. Wait till we get running, baby. Wait till everybody rolls on in and they dine in person.
So, yeah, we're curbside only. We're around 25th or 30th in the country recruiting-wise, and they can't get a leg up on us.
No, it's got to be
hurtful. That's a bad sign moving forward for them, even if they are well-coached.
They keep muttering to themselves, they haven't even opened the dining room. How are we going to compete with this? Once they open their doors and folks can come on in and eat that delicious food and have access to all those TVs and 50 different kinds of beer, we can't win. We should move.
And have you seen the giant pretzel? My God.
Delicious. Here is Florida State, for those of you that missed us talking about this earlier in the program. Quote, again, these are anonymous coaches or coaches speaking on condition of anonymity. It's a better way of saying it. Everyone is a little bit nervous about Mike Norvell coming into the league. This won't be an overnight fix, but it is a big-name Florida school, and they can get talent in there faster than most places. You knew during the Willie Taggart era that they weren't going to be consistent or coached up. Holy moly. That is a remarkably damning comment from a coach in this league. I mean, that is a running kick to the jewels in regards to Willie Taggart's reputation. Can you imagine a coach, somebody in your chosen profession, say you're an attorney or whatever you are, and the thought about what you are as a professional is that you are incompetent? That's the first thing that comes to mind for this coach is incompetence. There's no other way to describe that. Quote, you knew during the Willie Taggart era they weren't going to be consistent or coached up. They didn't play real hard, especially those last few games he was there. I mean, goodness gracious. Right away, they can build on defense. The front seven is talented, and the secondary is good by other school standards, maybe not theirs. Offensively, we think James Blackman can fit what Mike likes to do. It's a versatile offense that wants to be able to bend and change around what the personnel can do. Blackman just made so many bad decisions last year. That's the improvement you can expect immediately, though. Everyone knew that Jimbo Fisher took the last few years off in recruiting. People are not holding back. Just unleashing, unsheathed. This is unreal. Quote, everyone knew that Jimbo Fisher took the last few years off in recruiting, but it's Florida State. You can only screw that place up so much and not be able to beat 2/3 of this conference.
I like whoever this is.
Whoever this is just delivering punishing blow after punishing blow. They've got the ACC in the corner, and it's rib shot after rib shot. The downside could come in attrition. Taggart got a reputation for bringing in attitude guys, so now you're going to see some of those guys pushed out. Okay. All right. There you go.
Man, that doesn't get any easier to hear the second time through, even though we know that that's true. We know it's true.
Yeah, it's just interesting to hear it from guys who are in the profession, who coach in the league, who observe and have respect usually for their fellow coaches. They may think, that this coach is better than that coach, or this guy is better suited for this job or that job. But it's rare to hear coaches come out and say about other coaches, in essence, they're incompetent.
And the guy before him quit on the job.
Yeah, well, and we know this. We lived it. We're here to see it. We watched it, covered it, talked about it. But, man, that means it was obviously common knowledge in the ACC.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah. Ben Affleck staring off into the distance as the reviews come in. It is remarkable, that footage, that clip, just to see a guy on the cusp of a breakdown in the midst of an interview for an upcoming film that the vast majority of people who are watching that clip have yet to see. Doesn't even try.
Partly have spoken.
Ben?
I agree.
I want to guess that he just didn't get any sleep.
Well, he was also in the bottle pretty heavily at that point, because apparently that part of his life with that role, he was on death's door with the drinking and then the acting and the working out. Like, it was just, he was going full bore. He was in a very, very dark place.
And then the movie sucked, and he knew it sucked.
And he knew, because, well,
it's not because of him. The movie just sucked.
No, he was quite good, actually, in the role, which is a stunning upset.
Yes.
When he was cast, you're like, oh, jeez, this is going to be terrible. But he was good.
I got a theory on Ben Affleck. He's very much, or a comparison. You know what he's like? Kevin Costner. Here's the deal with Kevin Costner. He's either horrifically bad, like he's never acted a day in his life, or exceptionally good, shockingly so. That's Affleck. He's either really, Ben Affleck is really good in this role, or, my God, they hired Ben Affleck.
I have yet to see his basketball coach movie, but I do want to see it. That looks like the good Affleck.
Perhaps.
I don't
certainly
think
tackling a role that he would be familiar with.
Sure, but I mean,
given what that coach is.
But he's not without chops. So
right.
That's the idea.
That's what I mean. I'm telling you, it's the craziest thing. Go through the resume of Kevin Costner, and you're like, really, really good? Horrible, horrible. Oh, my God. I forgot you were in that terrible-ass movie. And you were especially bad in that movie. Oh, really good, really good. That's very good. I forgot that was a very underrated film. He was great in that. Oh, this is terrible, terrible. Oh, great film, great film. He's a baseball player. He's great in that. Next. That's Costner. Now, you do the same, I think, with Affleck.
How would you assess Costner's performance in Tin Cup?
It's good.
Okay.
I don't think. I mean, it is what it is. It's not
Yeah.
and I hate using that phrase, but I mean, it's not like an Oscar.
No, just
It's-
wondering what you thought of,
Well, now you're probably asking about the golf.
No,
Okay,
just the performance.
he's fine. He's fine. He's kind of funny in some scenes there.
He's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a.
I think he steps in and out of the character.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's
I think
just
that's
talking.
That's him in general. He
Yeah.
can't actually play somebody. He has to be himself with the sets of circumstances in the script. And if it suits who he is, then he's great at it. If it doesn't, if he has to have an English accent in Robin Hood, we're screwed.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's
They
how
didn't
that
even
works.
try with a Texas drawl for
Oh,
him
my
in
God.
Tin Cup. They're just like, hey, just talk like you
Just
do.
talk
It
like you
doesn't
do.
matter.
Right.
Just power through it.
But I mean, there are moments where he's great in other films where you're like, he's really good at that.
Well, Cheech saves him in Tin Cup.
Yeah.
Cheech is phenomenal in that movie.
Yes, he is. So we've assessed thoroughly both these two gentlemen who at times can be wonderful and at other times you're just like, good Lord, man. That is not going to get it done. Back to this. The front seven is talented. Secondary is good by other school standards, maybe not theirs. I don't know. I think the secondary is going to be good, period. By our standard or anybody else's. I do believe that. I know you're not so sure. I believe it.
I just want to see the technique. I think they can teach it, but
Sweat the technique.
it may take some time for the lessons to sink in.
Oh, of course. Well, listen, we're not going to go from being pretty much a sieve to being a vaunted, dominant defense that week in and week out keeps people under 14 points. But I think we can be good. I do. I think we can be good.
Well, okay, but I've heard the talking points be top 30 or maybe top 20.
Top 30.
Top 30. Okay. If it's on the outer edge of 25 to 30, then yes, you're going to have your flaws, but you're going to be on the whole pretty good. If you're thinking they're going to be a top 20 defense, then they better be damn near elite in that segment.
Let me say this. First of all, what it means to play elite defense anymore is very different than what it meant in the 90s. So good defenses, very good defenses might give up 21 points a game. It's just the nature of the rules, and also fast-paced offenses, right? A lot of plays. So it's really, points per possession type stuff that you're looking at, yards per play that you're looking at. Secondly, I would say that you cannot underestimate, not you, people in general, cannot underestimate, for this team on the whole, but especially with this defense where there is talent, you cannot underestimate what it's going to mean to have kids in the right spots, to have kids engendering confidence because they're coached well and they believe in what they're being asked to do and they understand what they're being asked to do. That goes an awful long way. That's basic competence, but it breeds confidence. So I think, honestly, they're going to be surprisingly good is a way of saying that. Now, what that means in your mind and mine might be different.
Yeah.
But I think just getting athletes to play with confidence, to play with speed, and an understanding of what they're being asked to do, utilizing good technique, all adds up to them being very good.
If they show signs, and I'm not even trying to take shots here at the old regime, but if they show signs of being able to find the ball, turn around, right, and maybe have a little
Make a
bit
play
of hands,
every now and
just
again,
every
yeah.
once in a while, but then they also show nastiness. I don't care if they're going to give up a few big plays,
Right.
because that's
They'll
just
take
going to be a sight for sore eyes. You just want to see us play. It's what Fuller was talking about in the audio earlier this week from the scrimmage, where he says, yeah, you have to read and react, but you also have to attack. That's the hard part about playing defense. Well, when's the last time we've attacked in the secondary?
Right.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, it's frustrating to think about, but I just want them to play. While we're talking, I'm sitting here thinking about, come on, just play, man. If they play, we're going to be in good shape. We're going to be in really good shape. We're going to see some things what we like, and it will help recruiting. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Love the sound of that music. Lets me know that an ice cold beer is waiting on me.
Maybe if you feel like stopping on the way home for baseball in a box, hey, man.
Baseball in a box. Still going on at Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
It is. Bradley's Dog, 2 hot dogs or a hamburger, side of fries, a little bit of Cracker Jacks, a giant beer, $12.99. You can't beat it.
Giant beer.
24-ouncer?
Yeah, that's a good-sized beer. That's the part that got my attention. It's Friday. It's Libations Friday, and it's been on my mind. I've been a good boy this week, so I feel like I can let loose a little bit. I'm not doing anything crazy. Just if I want a big beer like you're describing, I'm a grown-ass man. I'm going to have a big beer on a Friday.
I feel like a big beer. No.
Well, you are. Oh, by the way, it's pretty rare that, and maybe that's the first time ever, that Shania Twain has been invoked on the Jeff Cameron Show. Also, really sad that all music sticks to me, because you doing that instantly created Shania Twain in my brain.
Yep.
I know artists and who sing songs that I think suck immeasurably, let alone the ones that have made profoundly good records. It's ridiculous.
Oh, man. Now, Shania is a good one if you're at the bar, like
and
the
you want to
old
annoy
days.
somebody?
No, you just want to play something that people sing along to. In that realm of music, Shania is a good one to choose. It's a crowd pleaser.
Oh, I disagree. It ruins the night.
It's not Alan Jackson. It's Shania Twain.
I would prefer you pick Alan Jackson.
What?
Oh, by far.
Oh, my God.
Shania Twain was not even a real musician. She's not even there's no talent.
You don't impress me much.
She's stunningly beautiful, or was. I don't know if she is now. I haven't seen Shania Twain. Oh, we did see Shania Twain. Didn't she perform it last year, like New Year's or something like that? And we went, oh, no, what's happened to Shania Twain?
It's not the channel I was watching.
Well, here's what happens. It's not her fault, and this isn't me being a sexist like usual. This is what happens to anybody. I shouldn't say she's talentless. She can carry a tune. Anyhow, that's the bare minimum. But what I would tell you is this is what happens when you're famous and you go away. It's not fair to you, but you remain the same age you were the last time you were relevant in the minds of all of us. So then the next time we see you, 10 years later, you've gone through the natural aging process, and if you've done anything to accelerate that, then we're all left aghast. And that happened. Especially, and that's unfortunate for women a lot of times, because men objectify women. We all do, because we're visual creatures and we like looking at beautiful, beautiful women. And we are guilty of that much more so just by virtue of evolution than, say, women are of men. Objectification, that is. So when we see a beautiful woman like Shania Twain, it tends to resonate. That hangs in our memory, right? So that's the permanent image we have. Fast forward 13 years later, she's put on 15 pounds. She's aged a little bit. There's a wrinkle where there wasn't. And you go, oh, my God, what happened to Shania Twain? Really, nothing happened to Shania.
It's called time,
It's called
man.
time.
Yeah.
Right. But that happened. I was flipping around on New Year's, and while you were watching the CNN coverage of What's-His-Face Get Drunk.
That's always great.
Yeah, it is funny.
They kick it around the country, and people are just getting loose.
But she came on stage, and I went, why is Shania Twain playing? What's going on here? But the problem is this. You got to have people close to you that can have honest conversations. You've got to have people that'll tell you, that's probably not a good idea, Tom. That's not a good idea, Jeff. You're not the man you once were. You shouldn't try to, race so-and-so in the parking lot the way Corey Clark did. You're going to pull a hammy. You're in your 40s. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Somebody has to tell Shania, the outfit you got on there, that's from 94. It's 2020. Just saying. You got to have that conversation. Nobody did, and she attempted to.
Oh, is that what happened?
And it was.
I didn't see.
It was startling. It was. And then my wife slapped me because I went, my God, what happened to Shania Twain? She's like, you're such an a-hole.
Hashtag a-hole.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
First one of the new year.
Here we go, probables. And before you hit it, I want to make sure loud, out front and center. I do the right thing by my friends at Whidden Glass. Tallahassee's first family in glass since 1945. Sweet Jesus, I think I threw out the 70s yesterday.
Said 78, yes.
Why did I say that? That's Keith McNeil Plumbing.
Yep, that's right. See, Whidden Glass was around for 33 years.
Prior.
That's right.
My goodness gracious. Nothing wrong with Keith McNeil Plumbing.
Probably opened on Victory over Japan Day. Who knows?
For window, glass, mirrors, bath and shower enclosures, tabletop glass, and countertop safety screens, Whidden Glass on South Monroe and online at whiddenglass.com. Call 222-5781. There you go. That's how you roll. Now, cue it up.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Marlins, Nationals. What do we got? Patrick Corbin going for the Nationals, to be determined for the Marlins. The Blue Jays are taking on the Rays. Matt Shoemaker, Ryan Yarbrough. Have you really embraced and enjoyed the way I have the Rays' ownership of the New York Yankees? My God, are they bending the Yankees over every chance they get? It's unreal.
See ya.
To hear his pain, Michael Kay, that is, and the pain of the New York Yankees announcers during the course of these games has just been something to revel in. Schadenfreude through and through.
I knew that the sports reporters on ESPN was always a little dicey, but when Michael Kay appeared on as a regular, I knew that they had jumped the shark. That was it.
It's a matter of convenience. The show was filmed in New York, and he is in New York.
I'm available. I can come on, and I'll see ya at 5 a.m.
It's the worst. I'm sure the Brewers will pound the Pirates again. It's what they do. Pisses me off. Adrian Hauser will pitch for the Brewers. Chad Kuhl, he's not any good. He'll pitch for the Pirates. Tigers, Indians, Michael Fulmer. Adam Plutko going for the Indians. Phillies, Bravos. Aaron Nola, who every time I mention the Phillies is pitching for the Phillies. Max Fried going for the Braves. Red Sox, Orioles. Boy, the Red Sox suck. Pirates, Red Sox would be a hell of a World Series. Bunch of 15-14 games.
What world would that be?
A future I'd like to see someday.
Dystopian world.
Oh, man. You'd be all in on my Buccos. Colton Brewer going for the Red Sox. Orioles are throwing John Means. Twins, Royals, Jake Odorizzi, Danny Duffy. Reds still stinging from Tom Brenneman's stupidity. Will throw Anthony DeScalfini. I am a man of faith. And there's a drive to deep left field. The Reds will take a 4-0 lead. Dakota Hudson goes for the Cardinals.
I stand firmly on the side of what is, and there goes Hamilton. He's going to take second. His 10th stolen base of the year.
White Sox, Cubs, Dallas Keuchel, John Lester, Astros, Padres, Lance McCullers, Garrett Richards, Rangers, Mariners, Colby Allard, Nick Margavicius. He says it like that. Rockies, Dodgers. It makes it awkward at parties because you always have to really make that extra effort to pronounce his last name. Rockies, Dodgers, John Gray, Walker Buehler.
Trapper keeper.
You were not ready. Angels, A's, Andrew Haney, Mike Furs, Robbie Ray going to pitch for the D-backs. Hey!
I was ready, but my George Jetson finger was not. It whiffed. It whiffed on the on button.
You missed. Robbie Ray, 1-2 with an 8.59. Ray recently noted that he has ditched the mechanical changes he made in the offseason. Good idea, Robbie.
Yeah, probably good.
Let's get rid of that one.
You know, it stinks when your ERA is such that even if you rearrange the numbers in any way, none of them are good.
None of them are good.
None of them.
That's funny. El Gigantes going with Logan Webb. And that is a look at those that shall reside them up. Always got to let that play out rightly. Hard to believe this is a live version. That movie's incredible. That album is incredible. This band was incredible. Well ahead of their time. He's an interesting cat, David Byrne.
I would imagine so, given the things he does, the music videos he's been in.
His solo records, for many years now, have been criminally underrated. I mean, not by like those that love music, but he gets no run. And you go, if you just pluck any one of the records he's made in the last 7 years, you're like randomly, like, oh, what David Byrne up to these days? You're like, Jesus, this is phenomenal. It really is. I mean, he's out there. But he's also, I mean, he's a prolific writer, directs, does all this stuff. He's a true artist. You know, he's one of those guys that you sit across from in a room and you're just like, what have I done with my life? This guy is.
But that version of that song is not the one that's the go-to for The World Is a Crime, because it's always a naive melody, which is it doesn't hold a candle to that performance.
Yeah, that performance is unreal. You're absolutely right. So the weekend that is, what do we hope for? What do we wish for? What do we dream of? What is going to be your cup of tea Saturday and Sunday, Tom?
I think a lot of golf, honestly. The playoff leaderboard is setting up. There is no hockey on Saturday. Tomorrow is hockeyless, which hurts.
Damn it, man.
Hopefully there's a Game 7 on Sunday. We've got 2 chances to have one. That starts tonight. Philly-Montreal, 7 o'clock is, yeah, I know. Got a nervous Nelly back here, given that Montreal put up 5 goals in a game. That never happens. But without hockey, it's going to be golf. Without the Mets, because they're not playing, it's going to be the NBA playoffs. This is going to be a nice counter weekend.
Who had the Rona with the Mets, or was it the Yankees?
I haven't. No, it's the Mets. I haven't looked to see the specific name. It hadn't leaked as of early this afternoon.
I've noted lately the sort of the scarlet letter that I described about a month ago for those that come down with coronavirus. That's starting to wane, like I hoped it would. Like when we had the conversation before, for those that don't remember, I said what I don't like is sort of this sense of shame. There's a tenor in people's voice when they talk about people who have come down with coronavirus that it bothered me, but I'm noting now that is dissipating.
Well, I'm trying, okay, so my favorite restaurant that I don't mention because they don't advertise, but I love them dearly, they had a case of it. No, they've been around a minute. It's okay. They don't need us.
That's never true.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
They could use us.
They could be doing even better. Anyhow.
So Corona a few weeks ago, they had to shut down on the weekend, and they put a post on social, and I responded. I said, hey, we'll be back the moment that we're able to be back. Just, signaling, trying to support them and say, folks.
Fostering a deal.
They're going to clean the place. It's going to be fine.
Right.
And the last 2 weeks since they've been open, on Fridays when I go, people out the door. People out the door supporting.
Good. It's good to see.
I like to see
important.
that, like you're talking about.
Yeah. By the way, we parlayed Big Daddy J with the money yesterday. Hopefully you guys are on a Jeff Cameron show roll, because I gave you a gift in the Dallas Mavericks, and they cashed easily. They were getting 5.5. They won the game by 10. And then yesterday, T. Lizzy stepping up his game as well. We parlayed 2, 1 over, 1 under. Both hit. Hopefully you made a lot of money like I did. I really was irresponsible and wagered quite a bit and parlayed that into something big. So now I'm going to take my winnings, and I'm going to be an ass about it and let it ride, baby. We're going to bet big time over the weekend. A lot of gambling at the Cameron House.
That'll move the needle.
Do you have a thought on Flyers, Canadians, over under 5, Blues, Canucks, over under 5?
Hey, if you listened earlier in the show, you heard it. So
okay,
go back and listen.
Yeah. I gotta go back and listen. I don't remember what you said. I gotta bet it now. Good work out of you. Good work, Matthew. Be well, everybody. Have a great weekend. Be safe. We'll talk soon.